So you find me this week in an unfamiliar location, but with a very familiar face. Hopefully most of you guys know this is the superstar Tom Seguto, my friend, fellow Stack&Tilt instructor. Tom's invited me out here to sunny Myrtle Beach, a beautiful day. We're going to film some stuff for you guys. And we were talking last night at dinner, Tom, about some value that we can provide to the viewers and what we can share with our years of teaching experience that we could communicate to you guys and help you in the shortest amount of time. So some of that discussion, Tom, was what lessons we see on the lesson tee over and over again, the mistakes that golfers make. And I think sometimes people believe they have lots of different problems, lots of different mistakes, but actually it really boils down to maybe a handful of common issues that we can solve. And having used the system like we both do, we would be able to see those things. And I think, Mike and Andy, who are both mentors of ours, using a system to teach golf, came up with a 10-word template. And I think we can really summarize a lot of what we see on the lesson tee into those 10 words. Would that be fair?
Oh, definitely. And you think about the millions of variables that could be going through your head as a golfer right now. Oh, how do I do this? What's causing this? All of those things that cause stress and anxiety about golf and give you frustration and make you want to quit and throw your clubs in the lake. All those things. There are like 10 fixes, like 10 words, not 10 fixes. There's actually fewer fixes. There's 10 words that can fix a million variables. I think it's all about eliminating variables.
Yeah. I mean, before we even go through what they are, I mean, you're right. The simplest thing would be to have as few variables as possible. I think everyone would like to have that golf swing. Before we go through what those things are, I'd say that even down to every single lesson I teach could be categorized into one of these sets of 10 words, or one of these sets of the 5 two-word phrases. I would be able to say to a student at the end of a lesson, you need your weight more forward, or you need your shoulder more down.
Right.
And so it really helps to take a very complex problem, like a golf swing, and where golfers feel overwhelmed, it really helps to take it to a point where it's digestible, manageable, and something that can be repeatable. So we'll start with where I think both of us agree all golfers need more help. The first 2 words would be weight forward.
Weight forward.
Why do we put the weight forward? Low point control, Tom. So if you want to just demonstrate, maybe even just a couple of practice swings, just where your club hits the ground.
Right.
A huge determining factor as far as skill level of a golfer is concerned is where their club hits the ground relative to the ball, relative to where they started. And we would know that you should hit the ground after the ball. And so if you wanted that to be the start point, which it is really for playing this game, you'd put your weight more towards the target, and that would help you to hit the ground more forward. So Tom's doing a beautiful job of demonstrating that. And equally, the poorest golfers would demonstrate the opposite. They would start with the weight too far back, or they would move it more back in the backswing. Sometimes unknowingly, sometimes people are actually doing this, they're trying to do this. Please stop. You don't need to move your weight in the golf swing at all. It makes things infinitely more complicated.
Unless you're into masochism. I mean, this is the most masochistic way to play, because I don't know where this club's coming to the ground.
Where's it most likely to hit the ground if you do that?
Almost always behind the ball, or really thin and flippy.
Yeah. So weight forward. Tom's put his weight on the front. Now how much? I would say as a start point, 60% on the front foot's a pretty good place to start. But I would encourage those of you who struggle with this, and I say this in some of my lessons to people, some people need to feel more.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. That 60% reality could feel like 120% or 200%. You'd be surprised at the amount of golfers say, they get in the right position, you put them, they're like, I've got my weight forward, Tom. I've got 60% weight forward, and they look like this.
Yeah.
And then I put them right here, and they say, ooh, no. That's beyond, they can't process how far forward that is.
Yes.
But all I did was move forward a couple inches.
And then you show them on the camera and they're like, oh, that looks normal.
Yeah.
That looks how good golfers look. So we're trying to solve, common problems in very specific ways. And this is the first place I would start. Weight forward helps you put the low point of the swing further forward, which really improves contact. And if this video was going to be 2 or 3 minutes long, we could probably stop there.
We could.
And most of you would benefit from that. But I think it's worth just exploring some of the other things that we see as the things that good golfers do consistently versus where high handicap golfers struggle. Next one would be the ability to tilt their shoulders to the ground throughout the swing. So shoulder down would be the next two words, where the left shoulder moves down in the backswing and then the right shoulder moves down in the follow through. And that's helping Tom to swing this golf club around him on a tilted angle. We play golf on a tilted angle, we bend forward towards the ground. Tom, to keep his head still, which I know many of you want to do, and that's not a bad concept, keeping his head steady. For him to keep his head steady, he has to move his left shoulder down in the backswing, and he has to move his right shoulder down in the follow through. And you'll see from both the front view where that head stayed steady, and from down the line, you'll see that his head has remained in place. Shoulder down is just the tilting aspect of the swing. And I think in all my years of measuring the swing and teaching golf, there is no doubt at all that the better players tilt more than the poorest players. That's a just across the board general statement that I've seen to be true. And in all the measuring I've done, that would be handicap specific as well.
And how much your body works around shoulder down. It's almost like it unlocks every aspect of your body. The golfers who don't have a relationship with the ball tend to turn level and lift their arms to compensate for this.
Yeah.
So then they've got their body doing one thing, their arms doing another. So talking about minimizing variables, well,
Again.
that just creates a whole slew of problems.
Yeah.
But the second I work on tilt, I feel like right there. I don't have to do much explaining. It's like, okay, I tilt, then boom.
Everything
Opens up.
works. Yeah.
My whole body's working.
I believe strongly, I've been taught now for a very long time and understanding where golfers' concepts come from. I really wish the term years ago had been, you need to tilt your shoulders, not turn your shoulders.
Right.
Right? How many golfers make the mistake of trying to turn, they turn in forward bend, and that pulls their head outside of the box, outside of the circuit, pulls them to the right. That's the weight shift we just talked about in weight forward. That's the weight back, which causes all the problems. So shoulder down can actually help fix weight forward. Those two things live together.
They live together. And as you'll find with a lot of the pieces we're going to talk about today, how much of it comes back to weight forward and shoulder down.
Yeah.
We could almost say everything else starts to fall in place.
Hopefully you can manage those 4 words.
4 words. I don't know. What's 2 plus 2 again?
Is that too complicated? That's one of the, how can I remember all this stuff? Well, if you can only remember one thing, we're going to say weight forward.
Right.
If you can manage another 2 words, we're going to say shoulder down. And if you're doing those 2 pieces well, you'll see when you look at your swing from that front view, Tom, if you just demonstrate one more time,
Sure.
that your head's going to stay steady. Okay, beautiful. That's nice. That's a good move. So no shifting, weight forward, weight stable and steady. Head staying steady is happening because you're tilting your shoulders, not turning them.
Yeah, there's a lot of people thinking, get behind the ball nowadays. I'm seeing this, and I used to do this, like before I switched to the stack and tilt. It was always about get behind the ball because it felt powerful.
Yeah.
So it would be like this.
That's a very common picture, right?
And I've got old videos I don't want to show you. They're in the vault somewhere, but that spine is quite tilted away.
So I've just made the decision on the spot here to share on this video an old VHS of mine that was dug out many years ago.
Are they ready for that?
I usually bring it out on Halloween because it's a little bit scary. Of me practicing that exact movement as a junior golfer, an aspiring golfer, trying to play the game professionally, and I couldn't have been more off track. So one of the motivations that I one of the motivations for me to make more videos and educate the masses, which I know is the same for you, is to share information that's accurate and helpful. I was led down a terrible path with the traditional swing, the lift and shift, couldn't play golf, right? Killed my career. So
wow.
Teaching now is fun because we have a system, and if you implement these pieces, you will hit the ball better immediately, right?
The nice thing about going to an instructor like Rob and I is that you're going to get the same content. You don't have to worry about, oh, I wonder how this pro is going to, I wonder how I'm going to be after going to Pro A versus Pro B versus C versus Pro 1000 that you've tried.
Yeah.
No, I can confidently go to somebody like Rob, I can go to Andy Plummer, I can go to any stack and tilt instructor all over the globe, and I'm going to get pretty much the same type of lesson. You know, the delivery might be a little different, but it's going to be the same content.
Same fundamentals, control low point, increase that power, control the ball via these 10 words.
And it gives me a lot of confidence in the system because it's just physics and geometry. That doesn't change. So since those things are unchanging, the instruction, the palette is the same. It's the same toolbox.
It's validation for the words and the system. It helps people, right?
Right.
If this didn't help people, we'd change the words or would have changed the system. But it works. It really does. So we've got our weight forward. We've got our shoulder moving down. I think actually the next two words that I would say probably would be the priority for me would be arms straight. You talk about that a lot in your videos.
Love it.
I certainly do. And when I'm conducting online lessons, I'll often share YouTube videos of my own with my students and say, you need to watch this one. And I would share my arms straight video on my channel more than any other, actually. It's the one that I think golfers need to really understand. And that's the concept that the arms and the club form this radius. And again, broadly speaking, the best golfers are keeping that radius intact, meaning the arms are staying straighter for longer throughout the swing. That's the left arm on the backswing, and then that's the right arm on the follow through as you're coming through. And I would say, to share some of the lessons that I've learned in coaching this piece, I think very few golfers really appreciate how much stress or tension or effort there is in keeping those arms together. There's a fallacy, if you like, that this golf swing should be loosey-goosey, soft.
Surfboard.
And while the best players make the swing look effortless because their tempo and rhythm smooth, they just have very wonderful sequencing. You look at any still or any slow motion of these golfers coming through impact, you look at the muscles in their forearms and the stress in their fingers. They're not holding onto this thing like it's a baby bird.
No.
Right? They're holding onto this thing and they've got full hold of it, and there is a real sense of squeezing the arms together. I like that terminology.
Yeah.
Squeezing the
Active.
elbows. Yeah.
It's not
Pushing.
it's active squeezing.
It's not even just, I want to keep my arms straight. It's an active feeling of squeezing the arms together. The forearms get closer. And you'll see things that I use in lessons and recommend people to try, and holding a ball between your arms is a nice one.
Right.
Because it really trains the arms and the body to start syncing up together. I know you like that.
I love that, and you're right, dead on about the feeling. When I first started working on this, I had a lesson with Andy, and I remember when he got my elbows together. I thought I was doing it for so long. Like I had my first lesson with Andy was probably 6 years after doing the system.
Yeah.
And he does this thing, squeezes those arms together, and I felt tension like you wouldn't believe. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, 2 weeks later after doing this, you don't feel it anymore. But the active squeezing, it's like you're bored in the beginning. But then you feel right away this unit, the structure that I can now control my body in the swing with this. Versus before, it's like, well, where do you want the club to go?
It's a wonder people hit any good shots with that much arm flexing. It's really difficult to have any sense of where the ground is, how to control the contact. You're going to hit the ball less distance, and you're certainly not really going to be able to control any sort of directional aspect of the shot. So we've got 6 words. And at this point, I'd love you to hit a couple for me, Tom, demonstrating those 6. We'll get to the other 4 shortly, but I think a great place to start, the drill that Tom's about to demonstrate would be a drill that I would say would help every single golfer, regardless of your level right now. If you're starting out, this half swing in the backswing to half swing in the follow through, this baby swing, keeping your weight forward, moving your left shoulder down in the backswing, keeping your arms straight, stopping where the left arm's maybe parallel to the ground. That's as far as you need to go. And then you come through, you tilt to the right, and your arms straight with the club and the arms parallel in the follow through. That's the basic form that I would start teaching a lot of beginner golfers. And it's also a place I would bring a lot more experienced golfers back to, because they lose their way. All these pieces get out of shape and they don't know where to go. This is the place to go back to. How many times do you teach that type of drill?
It's every day.
Yeah, every day.
And I do it for every day I come out and hit balls. This is probably my warm-up.
One of the other videos Tom and I are making as we're out here in the beautiful sunshine, we talked about one, you should check it out, it's on his channel, I'll link it at the end. Our first shot my first shot in about 6 months, it was Tom's first shot in a month, and how we were so certain about we were going to make good contact, it really came down to me thinking about these words: weight forward, arm straight, shoulder down. And the ball came out really solid, and you'll see what happened in the rest of that video if you go and check it out. But this exercise, those 6 words are really key at this point. I'd love you to hit a couple and just show everybody how that looks on the camera, what you would expect to get, and just give your feedback, Tom, as you do these.
So my first thing I gotta say is it's been forever since hitting balls. So what you're getting is, this is instant. Like this is raw, rough, no practice, right out the gate. Much like many of you would be approaching this same drill.
Yeah, that's a really key point actually.
So I'm gonna set...
You shouldn't need 20 balls to find the club face, right? You shouldn't.
No, I mean, the only finding is I got it right here. I know it's right here. I know the club face is in front of me. And all I got to do is keep the radius intact.
So weight forward, shoulder down.
Weight forward. I'm emphasizing a little bit more because it's been a while since I've hit balls.
Great demonstration. This stop point here is beautiful. I'd love, again, for everybody watching, there isn't a single golfer that couldn't benefit from finishing here with the arms straight and the weight forward. You see how far forward Tom's pushed his pelvis? So his belt buckle's now out in front of his lead ankle. That was a nice one.
Thank you. That was
good demonstration. Crispy, bangers and mash.
Bangers and mash.
We're onto something here. And as I say, we're trying to share useful information in a short video that really encompasses years and years of teaching experience. These are the things that we know help people. And it's very easy to want to go off down some rabbit hole and find something complicated and confusing or fashionable that people are trying in their golf swing.
Shiny new object.
If you don't do this, you're wasting your time.
Right.
Come back to it whenever you feel like you lose your ball striking. This drill, if you master this drill, there is no doubt at all your ball striking will improve, your distance control will improve, the accuracy of your shots will improve, you'll enjoy hitting the ball more and you'll shoot lower scores because you hit the ball closer to the target, right?
Well, that feeling is what we're after in golf. I don't play golf to putt, frankly. I just play golf because I love this feeling. I'm an addict for this.
That's my favorite saying, I don't play golf to putt.
Yeah.
All right, let's do one more of those and then we'll continue with the 10 words.
All right. I just love the feeling, even on those practice swings, that little thud.
Yeah.
You can tell you have control over that low point.
Nice demonstration. So I would say that's a great drill for everybody to do. Start out at a speed you can control. Tom's pretty good at that one and he's hitting it almost full tilt, right? You're going at that pretty hard, but you're good,
Oh, yeah.
You can control that.
Well, you know, one of my weaknesses is doing half swings, so
I
should try a little less.
That's okay. I think it just shows the demonstration by someone who is expert at it and knows how to do it. You may find you can't control those pieces, and if that's you, you just take it a little bit slower.
Right.
So we've got something there that really forms a very functional swing. In fact, there's a lot of people watching who would benefit if they just played golf like that, right? They just took that swing to the course. But we'll finish out by adding a couple of pieces that would then add some more distance to that stroke.
Oh,
You ready for that? You want to hit it a
stoke
bit
the
further?
fire.
Want to hit it a bit further?
I'm in.
Okay, so next two words would be hands in.
Hands in.
Hands in sometimes get misunderstood by players. What's your interpretation of hands in and why hands in?
Yeah, so we naturally have this tilt to the ground it's set up.
Yeah.
And because our arms are hanging down, and the way this tilt works, it forms an arc on the ground.
Nice.
So you see this is my hand path. If I was a baseball player, I was hitting level, this would be my hand path. And that's what, if I swing the club level, there's my hand path. Just like that. So when I tilt down, there's this natural arc that forms.
Yeah.
So all this is just keeping your hands on that arc.
Yes.
There's nothing fancy about having to think about ripping the hands in like
I'm really pleased you said that. Yeah, because that gets misunderstood, right? It definitely gets misunderstood. The power of the hands in is the angular momentum, moving this club around us on an arc. As Tom says, if you want to set up to one that might be here, yeah, that's beautiful. And the club's on this angle. If I extend that up into the air, Tom can swing around and just take his hands around under the shaft. He's conforming to the geometry of the swing. And the power is in the geometry. The power is in the angular momentum. lifting your arms and taking the club up here, that's one of the weakest ways to hit the ball.
But it feels powerful sometimes.
And that's where people get off, right?
Yeah.
They do. So hands in would be moving the hands and the club around you more, so that at the top of the swing, a good checkpoint would be that your lead arm, left arm in Tom's case, would more or less match his shoulder plane, which talks to that whole stand up straight for me, Tom, like the baseball player. That's that guy tilted to the ground.
Exactly.
You're just tilted to the left at the top of the swing. So hands in, if you can keep moving your hands in and around, you're adding more potential power to the stroke. That's beautiful.
And just something to add there with what you just did with that little tilt. This isn't changing. This hand path is the same as this, which tells you that the golf swing really is this shoulder turn with that added tilt. We're just keeping that intact. I'm not forcing the club to go into different positions.
The tilt is the shoulder down.
Yeah.
So those are the second set of two words. The tilt is the shoulder down, and I completely agree with you. Again, I wish golfers were told to shoulder tilt, not shoulder turn.
I wish that too. But then, we'd be out of a job.
Hands in also continues on the front side of the swing. So we want this geometry to be conformed to also on the front side. So the hands are moving around in an arc. So again, you could check that regarding that standing up straight, moving this thing around you in the backswing, and then in the follow through, shoulder down, hands in, means that you're gonna conform to that geometry, and that helps with the directional control of the shots, right?
Definitely. Keeping the hands on that arc allows the face to stay squarer longer, meaning the shots fly straighter all day long.
Yeah.
And the way I like to think about it is if I keep my arms connected to my body, those elbows together, and I've got that shoulder going down, the hands in, they trace that arc naturally. You see that the shoulder moving down is providing that upward, inward element.
That's a beautiful demonstration, and so true.
And so I'm not lifting. The arms are glued to the body.
Yeah.
And then look at the face. The face is staying like this the whole time. If we're doing it level, the face is just staying like this the whole time I'm turning.
That's a good demonstration. It's almost right, for me, hands in sits a little bit towards the end of these 10 words.
Right.
Some of you may be struggling to keep up and remembering all of them and knowing which ones to prioritize. Hands in is very important, but if you do the first 6 pieces, and to your point, you keep the arm straight and move the shoulder down, the hand path, the arc of the hands takes care, in many cases, takes care of itself.
It does, which just is a testament to how we could always go back to the first couple pieces and how much that takes care of the swing.
Yeah. Final piece of the puzzle, tuck the hips, the extension of the spine by moving the hips forward. If you do that little demonstration for me again, Tom, where you do that 3/4 length backswing and follow through. Pushing the hips forward ensures that the low point keeps moving forward in the downstroke. So there's a lot of golfers who would make a backswing, do a pretty good job of staying centered, but actually as they swing down, their hips would start to move back. So weight forward in the downswing really becomes tuck the hips. The hips need to be more towards the target. So you'll see how Tom's belt buckle there just keeps moving forward, continues the whole way. If you trace that belt buckle from the top of his backswing, it'll be pretty centered. You trace the belt buckle and then you watch there that moves in the time and space of the downswing. He's going forward the most, the longest. And again, that would be demonstrated by the best ball strikers. Number 1 golfer in the world right now, Scotty Scheffler, moves his pelvis 10 to 12 inches forwards from where it started. That's a tremendous amount.
It's huge. And if I was going to demonstrate that, wow, I mean, I'm thinking he's got more tilt than me at the top. And he's here. Maybe I'm exaggerating it, but it's
yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons his feet, where often he struggles to keep his balance. But I would much rather see somebody moving their pelvis too far forwards as opposed to not moving it forward at all, because again, it's a function of low point control and it's an enormous power source. The golfer who extends through the ball is going to swing faster. What would it look like if somebody didn't extend through the ball? How would that follow through look?
I mean, I'm just thinking like least extension possible, very, very hunched.
Yes, arms would bend far more than anyone.
I'm keeping them too straight.
You're too good at it, right? Arms would bend. You'll see here how Tom's head is further forward than his pelvis now. If I was to just drop my club and I'm going to just tuck his butt under him and extend him, you'll see how now his pelvis his belt buckle is further forward than his sternum. And that's a good checkpoint. If you're looking for this at the end of your swing, what's the furthest forward? It's the belt buckle is further forward than the lead foot, the lead ankle. The belt buckle is further forward than the chest and the head.
Yeah, I like to practice this one with a stick placed in the ground up against my hips. And I like to think about getting into the stick and then staying against the stick.
Yeah.
Because what ends up happening is you get that forward hip movement and then you get the extension through the ball. You finish like this versus someone who gets away from the stick. If there was a stick there,
yeah,
I wouldn't have any of that.
Yeah, so you may think you're keeping your weight forward. You may think you're doing a pretty decent job of it, but still hitting bad shots.
Right.
Most of the time when I see that or I hear that from a student, they might be doing a decent job of keeping the weight forward in the backswing, but they're not getting it forward in the downswing and the follow through, and that's causing them the contact issues. That pelvis movement, downswing follow through, is a significant separator of skill. Best golfers are moving their hips like Tom's demonstrating there. So
you can't do it enough, as you say.
You can't do it enough. Those would be a real overview of the drills, the feels that we describe to students. And students present with what might look like a lot of different problems, but we can encapsulate them into those sort of boxes and buckets and really help someone very quickly with just 2 words, maybe 4 words at a time.
Right.
And a drill that goes with it. If you were really going to take something from this video, I'd like people to understand that having a system is beneficial. It allows you to keep things simple, allows you to distill a complex action like the golf swing into some simple words and simple feels. And the real message here would be to try and master that 3/4 length punch drill and get as good at that as you can. And if you think you get good at that, if you master it, you'll see a knock-on residual benefit to your full swing immediately. You won't even have to try and transfer it, right?
Right.
I think that really gives everybody what they need. They can distill that. I think watching this back and helping them to listen to that information again, just condensing what we've learned in all the years we've been teaching, all the thousands of lessons we've given. If it can come down to these 5 things, these 10 words, that really starts to give you a place to start. It breaks down the concept that this game's too complicated and that you should try to play golf with 100 swing thoughts, which is of course completely impossible.
This is a roadmap. This has a final destination. Your happiness in golf.
This wasn't by accident.
No, this was not by accident.
We have an expectation of what should happen because of how you set up and how we're moving. So look for the low point to improve, look for the contact to improve, look for the distance and the directional component of your shots to improve as you master that drill. Tom, I thought that was really fun. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with me. Appreciate you having me out here. If you don't already subscribe to Tom's channel, I'm not quite sure where you've been for the last 6-7 years, but we're going to put Tom's channel information down in the description. Please check out his stuff. And as I said, we've made some other videos that you'll find over on Tom's channel. We'll be releasing those in the coming weeks, and we'll also be creating a playlist. I'd love you to go and see Tom's stuff. Let us know what you thought in the comments, and can't wait to see you on the next one.
Rob, that was great. Thank you again.
Thanks, man.